It's time to start your morning by taking 5. Here's your host, Matt McMaster.
You're listening to Take 5, a quick 5-minute take of the biggest things happening in Nebraska sports. I'm your host, Matt McMaster. A little bit of a later edition of Take 5 today because coaches in Lincoln talked today for the very first time. Phil Simpson, Phil Snow, and Daikiel Shorts, all for Husker football, talked to the media. I went to Lincoln. I was at the presser, asked a couple questions, took a couple notes, so we'll dive into that today. And I think that these press conferences, especially the introductory ones, I always love going to them, but I do think they're really important because a lot of these guys, Simpson, Snow, and Daikiel Shorts, we've all heard things. We've all heard the compliments. We've all heard their visions. We've all just have been told from other people what they're trying to do, what they're trying to accomplish, what makes them what makes them them, right? But I think it's always great to hear it from them, to be introduced for them for the first time. So kind of dive into it right away. Phil Snow talked first. A couple key takeaways from Phil Snow. The first one was he was very adamant that he is a defensive assistant, that he will have say in the game plan when it comes to defense. He will help out with the defense. He'll have, some push and pull in the defense, but John Butler, the defensive coordinator, will be calling the plays. He even said that they're all working for him, that the entire defensive staff is working for John Butler. He is kind of just a cog in that machine. Another interesting thing that he mentioned was that, and with Phil Snow, it's easy to see he's a football coach. I mean, if you ever thought in your mind what a football coach would look like and sound like, that's what Phil Snow is. And he made it clear he won't be in one position group. He's going to be moving around in practice. He said that the best thing that he does is coach on the field. They're not going to not allow him to do that, so that's what he's going to be doing, and he'll be assisting here and there, and he'll really essentially be taking a 1,000-foot view of what the defense looks like. And the final thing that I took away from Phil Snow's presser was the confidence he has in Matt Rule. He said very blatantly that he believed if Matt Rule had another year in Carolina that they would have won, that they would have succeeded. And, whether or not you agree with that or not is neither here nor there, but just to come out and say that on the microphone and say that you believe in your coach so much, I think speaks volumes to the relationship they have. And there's no surprise that Matt Rule is very adamant in bringing Phil Snow into the program because of that. All right, next coach, Phil Simpson. He'll be coaching the outside linebackers, the Jacks. So two things he said. The first one was, if you're going to rush the passer, you have to earn it by stopping the run first. I love that message from him. I love that he kind of just went out and said it. And he said, look, our DNA is to go and get the quarterback, but you can tell that there are principles and there are values when it comes to what he is coaching, that he can be a stern guy and that he understands what needs to happen in order for them to do the fun things, right? You got to do the dirty things, maybe the things you don't like before you do the things that you love, right? And it just seemed like that was the type of message that he was communicating, that he communicates to his players, that he was communicating to, the fans and media in that point. And secondly, you're sitting there and you're listening to Phil Simpson talk. I think it was really easy for me to pick up why he's such a good recruiter. He seems like a very stern guy, good coach. He wants to do things a certain way. He believes in, what he's doing and why he's doing it. But then he also, has this smile and this joking attitude, and talked about how he's like a parrot to Phil Snow, that he likes to sit on his shoulder and he likes to soak up all the information that he's talking about and learn more. And, it's interesting. He brings this kind of tougher coaching style vibe, at least, but at the same time, he seems like a really personable guy, and you're just kind of sitting there, and he's the type of dude you're listening to. You're like, I see why people would want to play for him. And then finally, Daikiel Shorts, the wide receivers coach, he is pretty impressive with how he speaks. He's just a sharp individual. Talked a lot about his conversations with, or just his relationship with Dana Holgorsen. He revealed, I think, a lot about Dana. I mean, he said a lot that Dana's a tougher guy to play for, but Dana is a tougher guy to play for because he's tough on you and he gets on you. And he said that he's very confident in Dana's ability to get the best out of players. And I think talking to Daikiel Shorts and just kind of seeing his outlook on his wide receiver room and the talent that he has, one thing that he said is we only really have one guy who has a lot of previous production. It was interesting for me to hear that because, I think that in the past, and just Nebraska, just college football in general, we think that if you have 1 year of starting, that's production, that's previous production. It was clear that Daikiel Shorts doesn't believe in that you got to have multiple years of production in order to prove that you can play wide receiver at a high level of college football. I think that's just a different standard and very interesting coming from him and just kind of a change in pace from what we've heard before. But very, very clear, him and Dana are thick as thieves. It's no surprise that Dana kind of stood up on a ledge and said, hey, I want this guy to come with us, and we got to make sure that this guy is our wide receivers coach. Just really, really sharp guy, well put together, talked really well, and really revealed that, you could kind of tell that he has a similar coaching style to Dana, but it was very important to him, and he made it very important. It was a question that I asked him, that developing relationships is really, really important. He brought up Dane Key and the fact that, he's coached him before, and Dane is a lead by example guy. They don't have a vocal leader yet. They're still trying to find what the voice of that room is and what the room is, and definitely still working through a lot of the things that they're going to really cement in that wide receiver room, which is a process. It's a process of when you get in, you inherit those wide receivers. How do you make your room your room? But overall, just really impressed with Daikiel Shorts. I'm impressed with all three coaches. They spoke really well. So, put as much stock in it as you will. But pretty good afternoon for Nebraska football. So I've been Matt McMaster, and that's been Take 5.